So what happens when you are pushed to your absolute breaking limit? You know, when you face a problem that's so huge, your usual way of doing things just completely falls apart. Well, today, we're exploring a pretty radical idea. What if those breaking points aren't just crises? What if they're actually powerful invitations for a total personal reboot? Okay, let's get into it.
All right, to set the scene, just imagine for a second that this number is your credit card bill. We're talking millions. And yeah, it's due tomorrow. So that's the big question, right? We're going to dive into a personal account from someone who faced this exact impossible situation. It's an incredible story about how a crisis you can't control can actually trigger a deep internal shift. What some in physics call a phase transition. It's a jump from one state of being to a completely new one.
All right, so to really get this, we first have to understand our default setting, our normal operating system for life. We're going to call this the me.
Now, this me self runs in what the source material calls causal control mode. Its whole worldview is based on one single premise. The future is totally uncertain, and it's my job to predict, prepare for, and control it. It's always trying to manipulate and optimize everything to get the best outcome.
And what does it try to control? Oh, just everything. We're talking cash flow, sales results, your relationships with your family and coworkers, every single deadline. The me is basically this frantic project manager inside your head, and its main fuel is a mixture of fear and expectation.
And for this me self, the math is brutally simple. Anything unpredictable equals danger, and money equals survival. So that giant credit card bill, it's not just a financial headache. To the me, it is a full-blown existential threat.
So what happens when this controller self hits a brick wall? A problem so massive that no amount of planning or effort can fix it? Well, that is the breaking point. It's the moment when the whole system starts to crack. And in this person's story, facing that massive, unpayable bill, the me, the controller, finally just let go. It completely gave up. It admitted total defeat and surrendered its desperate, white-knuckled grip on the outcome.
Okay, now this is where things get really fascinating. We can actually frame this idea of surrender using a concept from physics, spontaneous symmetry breaking. So, picture a pencil balanced perfectly on its pointy tip. It's symmetrical, sure, but it's also incredibly unstable. The tiniest little nudge, and what happens? It falls. It collapses into a new position that's actually way more stable.
That massive bill, that was the nudge. The state of the me trying desperately to keep everything perfectly balanced just couldn't hold anymore. So surrender is that moment of collapse. The symmetry breaks, and it makes room for something entirely new and, kind of paradoxically, a lot more stable to emerge.
So what comes out of that collapse? What rises from the ashes of the me? Well, this is where we meet the I, a totally different operating system, a whole new way of being in the world. See, the I doesn't try to control reality. It just observes it and synchronizes with it, kind of like flowing with the current instead of trying to swim against it. And here's the crucial part. The I doesn't see the crisis as a threat at all. It actually sees it as the necessary event, the exact nudge needed to break that old, unstable structure of the me.
And this perspective is a complete game changer. The I self believes the future is already set, the result is already confirmed, like the script of a movie has already been written. All that's left is to watch how it's displayed on the screen. So from this point of view, the crisis isn't some random awful thing. It's the precise tool needed to trigger this phase transition. It almost had to happen.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but what about the actual day of reckoning? How did this new I self handle the massive bill being due on January 13th? Let's walk through the timeline. Now just think, the me would have been in pure panic mode, right? Frantic calls, total meltdown, but that is not what happened. Instead, the whole day just unfolded with this really strange, almost procedural calm. The email comes in at 7:11 a.m., payment unsuccessful. But instead of freaking out, the person just calmly assesses the situation, makes a few practical, emotionless bank transfers, and by the end of the day, boom, the payment's gone through. No drama.
And at some point during that strangely calm day, there was this huge realization. This whole scramble, it wasn't about desperately trying to keep the old system on life support for one more month. No, this was something totally different. This was a final settlement.
It was the final, official clearing of an old debt. And not just financial debt, but the debt of an entire way of operating. The belief that you have to personally struggle and strain to hold your world together. That account was finally being closed. So let's zoom out for a second. What does a story like this really teach us? What was the actual game being played underneath all this financial drama?
The game that just ended was the one where you believe that your personal effort, your sacrifice, and your constant stress are the only things keeping reality from falling apart. It's the end of the illusion that you, one person, have to personally shoulder the weight of everything.
So you can basically map this entire journey in 4 steps. Step 1, the critical point, an impossible problem for the me. Step 2, surrender. The me lets go and the old system breaks. Step 3, synchronization. The new I emerges and starts flowing with reality. And finally, step 4, resolution. And notice, it's not some huge victory. It's more like a calm, quiet clearing of the old game's accounts.
Which kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. What if the most overwhelming challenges in your life, the ones that are pushing your controller me to its absolute breaking point, aren't just threats you have to survive? What if they are actually an invitation to reboot your entire reality? What old game might it be time to end?